Welcome back. Tren de Aragua is one of the most violent prison gangs in all of Venezuela. It is one of the most violent gangs in Latin America. Well organized with paramilitary training, this gang has terrorized the Western Hemisphere. Thanks to former President Joe Biden, this group has effectively taken over key American cities, including the city of Chicago. Tatted up and heavily armed, Tren de Aragua has been marching violently through the streets of Chicago using the illegal arms, illicit narcotics, and human trafficking trade to fund their criminal operations in the Windy City. Our next guest, Newsome, is a Chicago resident, and he's been taking on the illegal immigration crisis in the Windy City for years. He now joins us to discuss how the Trump administration's tougher immigration laws have affected both the operations of Tren de Aragua in Chicago, as well as the Democratic Party machine in Chicago that has been supporting the movement of these violent illegal aliens into Chicago. Terry Newsome is also the host of the popular Behind Enemy Lines podcast, and he joins us now. Terry, thanks so much for being with us. It's great to see you.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you for the first time.
Absolutely. It's nice to meet you as well. And I know you are doing such great work over there in Chicago. This is a frightening issue that is really shocking when you dig deep into it. Can you break down for us what is really going on here? Give us some of the details about this violent gang, what their tattoos mean, what these hats indicate. Tell us what we need to know here.
Yeah, so, Chicago has shut down all their shelters. There was 27 of them, right? And they were rotating. They're pushing them out into the suburbs and different homes in the Chicagoland area. And the gang members are starting to spread their wings, right? And I said this with Emerald before, next summer is going to be crazy because there's definitely going to be conflicts for territory and some of the drug trade going on here. So as these guys get settled in, and again, I said this to Emerald as well. So we just had some of the FOIAs I shared with you. These guys are going in and doing home invasions, actually of their own people with machine guns now, with machine guns.
Wow.
They're also using counterfeit money to purchase vehicles out of state, cross state lines. You just posted about, Chicago letting a Tren de Aragua guy go, right? We saw Mayor Brandon Johnson last week says, oh, we'll comply with all federal laws. And if there's criminal, well, you just proved that's a lie, right? And I'd like to know, for instance, the evidence that we have in these FOIAs that you have showing that they're actually using counterfeit money to purchase vehicles cross state lines. They're coming into Illinois, crossing multiple states, in some cases, Michigan, sometimes it says Texas, sometimes New York. Isn't that a federal crime? Isn't that something the FBI should pick up? And are they calling the FBI? I don't think so, right? So he's allowing this. And, as you see all this, they're selling drugs and, some of the other stuff we exposed before. There was multiple murders by Tren de Aragua guys. And being a sanctuary city is not safer for the people. Mayor Brandon Johnson's lying. He lied about not following all federal laws. He doesn't follow federal immigration law. Another thing that Brandon Johnson doesn't follow that he blatantly lied about is the city of Chicago has weed shops all over. Even though they legalized in the state of Illinois, on his own website, it says Illinois legalized marijuana in 2021, but it's still a federal crime. So he lied to Congress. He basically lied. And they should hold him accountable for lying. And one of the things I suggest, and I sent, some of my Republican friends, they ought to have somebody from the administration like Bondi or Patel contact Johnson and say, listen, you're going to jail for lying and selling weed unless you decide to cooperate with Tom Homan, right? If you want to cooperate with Tom Homan and do the right thing for your city and country and let us pick up these criminals, then we won't shut down every single one of your illegal weed operations that you have on your website.
It really is disgusting and incredibly disturbing that this is happening, and the fact that this is going on still to this day. So many people think, oh, good, Trump's in office, but we still have the fallout from Joe Biden lingering around just like this situation, and it's got to be stopped. Why do you think nothing's being done here? There are dozens and dozens of pages of these police reports and arrest reports related to the gang members. What is the city going to do about this? Is Chicago going to stop being a sanctuary state and city in Illinois there? What do you think is going to happen?
Actually, I'm driving two petitions for sanctuary state to remove that in 2026, and for Chicago for their sanctuary welcoming city status to put in a petition to vote in 2026 to say they can't spend a penny on illegal immigrants, right? So this isn't going to be a referendum that's driven by Republicans or Democrats. It's Republicans,
Mhm.
Democrats, black, white, Hispanic, Italian, wealthy, low income. It's affecting us. I live in a western suburb. Down my block, doctor's home was robbed by a Venezuelan gang. The gas station by my house, they distract you when you go inside to buy a gallon of milk, and then the men shuffle through the cars over there. The suburbs, the mall over here, there was 130 arrests. And Tren de Aragau guys right before Christmas, one had a colostomy bag from being shot in Chicago during a crime. It's rampant throughout the whole city of Chicago. Now they're elevating their level of crime. Counterfeit money. That's not like, the normal gangs have been doing here in Chicago, right? Purchasing vehicles, bringing them across state lines. There is more behind these guys than just being some gang members that came up here from South America.
Yeah, it definitely goes deeper, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. And we need, Republicans to really get to work here. I mean, I know the Trump administration is still fairly new in office, but I mean, they've got to get a handle on this. And like you mentioned, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, we need their help. So it'd be great to see them out there. But in the meantime, Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida actually, I believe, was interrogating the Chicago mayor on Capitol Hill. And it looks as though Mayor Johnson was trying to sort of mislead Congress while under oath. Let's take a look at this clip, and then we'll come right back to you.
Johnson, Chicago. How much has the city of Chicago spent on illegal immigration?
If you're referring to the 2022 up to 2024 of the buses coming from Texas, roughly the same percentage of the state of Texas, about 1% of our overall budget.
What is that? Because we don't have the city's budget in front of me. Numbers.
It's 1%, and if you want the actual calculation, we can make sure someone...
You're the mayor. You don't have the math in front of you.
It's 1% of the overall budget over the last 4 years.
All right, that's why you're a failure.
He's a liar.
So, yeah, liar.
Yeah.
We need more interrogations like this. I mean, it's great to see Byron Donalds up there. Where are the rest of the Republicans, and where does Mayor Johnson get off just blatantly lying?
So yeah, it was 700 million that we know about. There's so much money we don't know about. We also know 2.2 billion from the state of Illinois was spent just on their health care. We don't track how many times the police are called to their facilities, how many times the fire department shows up to their facilities. None of that stuff is tracked. So it's really hard to get a true cost, associated with these illegal Venezuelans. And another thing that he said, he keeps blaming Governor Abbott, right, for the buses over and over again, right? Abbott sent him up here. He's lying about that. I think one of the first shows I was on with Emerald is when I confronted these Venezuelans being dropped off in the western suburbs, nice suburbs of my home. They were bought by the NGOs. And how do I know they're by the NGOs? They get off the buses. They've got Metro train tickets given to them. You know darn well that Abbott wouldn't give them train tickets. And then they had handlers. And I'm filming these people trying to talk to them. I don't speak Spanish, so some difficulties. And the handlers are saying, don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. He's bad. He's the media. Don't talk to him. You know for sure that if those were Abbott's handlers, they wouldn't care. And then I also found FOIAs that were talking about the city of Chicago coordinating with them at the border. The city of Chicago is coordinating with buses at the border. So he lied about that too.
Well, I think all of that is very telling and really shows that this is a coordinated effort. And again, it must be stopped. So it's very disappointing that our so-called leaders are really doing nothing to stop it, and in fact, just enabling it. Is there anything that can be done to try to get a handle on this from a citizen's perspective? Is there anything local citizens can do to try to get active and push back and put some pressure on elected officials to finally put an end to this?
Yeah. That's why we're doing these referendums, right? So Illinois is so corrupt. We assume the Springfield for the state level in Chicago, they'll stop us from being on the ballot, right? But as we have people from the community going to get the signatures, to say, hey, we want to have this on the ballot. Any politician who says, oh, no, well, why are you saying no? Are you putting these criminal Venezuelans before your own constituents? And then we're going to put it on the website. Oh, these guys say no, right? Who supports it? And we're going to weaponize those signatures, meaning if you don't want to support your own people and you want to give billions to illegals who are committing crime, flooding the schools, robbing us, then you don't represent us, and we need to get rid of you.
Absolutely. Got to hold them accountable. And I love that you're calling them out, and I love all that you're doing. Terry, thank you so much for everything. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was great having you.
Thanks, Alison.
I'm Alison Stienberg, filling in for Emerald Robinson. Thank you so much for joining me for a great show. And be sure to tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. for another great one. That's the absolute truth. I'll see you then.